I'm Brian.
Welcome to this edition of the Wonderbury podcast.
And you can find us online at
I'm Dave.
wonderbury.com. Or I'm
I
Brian
am D. Wonderbury on
anywhere
Twitter.
the internet can be found.
You can leave us a comment on our website.
Yes.
Check for the link in the description.
There'll be links in the description that you should definitely look into.
Always.
No,
What's going on, Brian?
yeah,
Been a couple
working
weeks.
on writing stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've got a couple of projects I'm writing for and trying to get stuff recorded
Nice.
for and everything, and I think it'll be fun.
Yeah,
It's gonna take a minute, but
that's what I had.
it'll come out when it comes out.
I think 6 episodes. Kind of all halfway done.
Nice. Yeah, I've got writing done for 4 or 5 episodes of one thing and kind of a roadmap
Nice.
put together for another. The other one has to do with a lot more of the gaming side of stuff. So I just have to peel myself away from PUBG long enough to work on other games. Oh, that game is too much fun,
I
though.
haven't played it yet.
It's a massive multiplayer battle royale, like first-person shooter battle royale. So you drop on to a map. You have nothing. You have to loot all weapons, attachments, ammunition, health, armor, everything from different buildings throughout the map. It's you and 99 other people, so it's about 100 people per drop-in. Circle pops up, and that circle just keeps getting smaller and smaller until one man or one team is remaining. You can play solos, duos, which is 2 players, and then 3-person or 4-person squads.
Nice.
So it's quite the fun game. Yeah. It's kind of immersive, and it's just a lot of fun to play with friends.
An Android beta out, I think. Supposedly works on the Shield, but the controller support is just a little bit wonky.
Yeah, the game, so PUBG has a release for Xbox.
Yep.
And for the Xbox One. And the controller is kind of, I don't know, I would not want to play it with a controller. There are so many different moving parts and different things that sometimes it gets confusing with a keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine attempting it with a controller. People do it and they like it, but holy cow. That's too much for me.
If I could get it to play on the
Too
Shield, then I'd
much.
probably just do it and live with it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's going to come down to that. I think with what Nvidia's trying to do with cloud gaming, the Shield will become much more integral into Nvidia's plans and what they're doing and what they're
kind
trying
of a
to
big deal,
accomplish.
Dave.
No, it really is. Like what they're doing is phenomenally exciting. If working properly, and if your internet happens to be good enough, it could do really cool things.
There's a potential to completely replace the desktop, especially if they're
for gaming.
maybe
Yes,
for a lot of stuff.
You're not going to be able to replace the desktop for everything.
Might be possible.
But for a lot of stuff, yes. as good as editing programs and everything else are, you're not going to beat desktop support for a very long time, especially when it comes to animation or special effects stuff. I'm not going to be able to replace my desktop for a very long time.
What if they add the Adobe suite, the GeForce Now?
They'd better add a hell of a lot of RAM
like
to
it's
it.
Already pretty beefy. The way it runs stuff is insane already.
How does it work for paraphernalia setup? Can I attach in graphics tab, keyboard, mouse, audio equipment?
I'm not positive. I know it does recognize a keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I suppose if they did add support, if they did add these other programs, they would probably add support for this stuff.
Yeah, one would hope. Or they'll just go the route that they were going with Photoshop and Lightroom on mobile devices and give you a very layered back light version.
Or they might just still move
which
that
would be
all to the
very
web
unfortunate
on their own. I know Adobe was working on some of that for their education editions, just trying to move it all so it's all web-based so people could just log in with their school account.
Yeah. But once again, it's the education system. Yeah. It's a light version. So I don't know. We'll have to see what ends up happening. I'm optimistically suspicious. I'll put it that way.
I don't think it's going to be too far out before we can just do anything in the cloud.
No, I don't think so. The only thing that I would worry about is the future of ISPs and actual internet service, especially in the United States.
Yep.
As ISPs start getting more power, and there was a news story that filtered through where I think it was Wisconsin. Let me double check this before I give.
If we're going to talk about that, we should bring up organize your local communities. See about building a community broadband service. You can do it cheaper than what Comcast will provide for you. And
yep, and unless you live in the state of Wisconsin,
you can do it.
And other cities are starting to, or not other cities, other states are starting to pass laws trying to ban that from happening.
It's your time to step up and fight that, and if you want the internet to be free and open, that's a good solid way to do it. Yep. Go vote.
Go
Research
vote.
Your representatives and how they stand on things, and tell them. I email with my representatives every once in a while, just to let them know I'm keeping an eye on them. I'm paying. I'm their paycheck, and I'm only one of whatever hundreds of thousands, but I'm one.
Yeah, it's frustrating that this happens, and you start looking at the states where it's happening, and it's just it's very, very interesting of what's going on, and there's 19 states where municipal broadband is effectively been outlawed or is so restrictive that it's impossible. And that, while we live in a city where you actually have a choice, about 60 to 65% of Americans do not live where there's a choice. They have pay or you go without. And
there's
or it's slow.
lot of areas where you do have a choice. My area specifically, I have a choice between Comcast and their ridiculous rates and their ridiculous speeds, or I can get AT&T UVerse DSL at a maximum of 3 megabit a second. Yeah, there's.
And I can tell you right now, 3 megabit a second will not cut streaming massive multiplayer games.
That's my choices.
I flirt on the edge of being fast enough, but I still have desync issues, and I'm running on a 3030 connection, which I could probably boost up at some point, but I'm running at a 3030 connection right now, and some of these massive multiplayer stuff I still have trouble with, which is one of the reasons why I'm a little suspicious about gaming in the cloud. Because if I have to connect to the cloud, then that connects to servers, and then it routes back through, I'm adding a whole nother layer of connection issues. Possible connection issues.
I was playing a little bit of Paragon at work on my work connection, and it is a maximum of 15. And it kept up okay. There was definitely like some graphical leggy issues. Like there wasn't. It didn't seem like there was control issues. Like the controls seemed to just keep going, but it seemed like it was cutting graphical quality as it was, not keeping up with the connection. But it did pretty good on 15. And I was kind of surprised. Whereas at home I'm on 75, so here I don't have any trouble with anything I run on it.
The other issue faced with a lot of people, and I know it doesn't affect me, but is limited bandwidth. And if you're streaming in not just... I don't know how much extra to stream in entire game content that would normally run in your local system, but that seems like a lot more updates and pushing in, and I don't know. There's a lot of...
Well, the inbound would be...
There's a lot of possible issues depending on your ISP. And that's where I'm a little worried about pushing toward everything toward a cloud that way for programs and for usability and stuff like that. Because I don't think that will be a usable solution for a while until the United States figures out its broadband issues. Nope. And that's not happening anytime soon. We're regressing rapidly in that run. There was another news story came through that all the major ISPs are planning on jacking up prices again this coming year. They get this massive tax break. They get unlimited support to do stuff, and the first thing they start doing is jacking up prices and blocking content. I think it was it Comcast that's starting to do that with its verified browsing or safe trusted browsing?
No, I saw.
Did you hear about that?
AT&T was doing some shady stuff with that.
Where was this?
So
Let me look for
and
this real quick while
talked
we're
about
doing this. But
this. This is why net neutrality is important. So, we there's bills in Congress, so you can write your Congress people about it. But that's also another reason why the community broadband is a great idea, because it puts you in control of it, makes you the owner of it, and you decide how it works. And then you can keep it open. And if your community if your whole community just wants to block one website, that's fine. It doesn't affect, if it only affects your whole community and not ours, whatever. That's cool. But it makes it yours. The thing with the net neutrality was even before they repealed it, they weren't doing a good job of enforcing it. You had.
well, it hadn't been law for very long.
It was but it was a law, and like Comcast was still just pulling all sorts of shady stuff. My
Oh yeah, they were pushing the limits of what they were trying to get away with after, because it was only law for I think less than 2 years.
2009.
Or it was a full 2 years.
Wasn't
it went in no, it was 15, I believe. It was proposed in 09. I think it was passed in 15 and repealed in 17.
With Comcast, remember when I was trying to get my internet upgraded and they wanted to charge me the last, and we could never figure out what it was, and the lady just told me it was my upgrade and all that, and then it was also the delivery of my modem.
Oh yeah.
I had to pay. So it turns out, that fee was for Xfinity properties. So I'm paying my regular amount for 75 megs a second of download speed. But if I use a Comcast Xfinity service, I get a total speed of 150. But only with Comcast things and not with any other website. So it was, they were already getting away with
the fast lanes.
A fast lane. And even though it was unpaid, it was still shady because apparently I have the ability to have 150 with all of my current stuff, but I didn't have any way to. I don't have a way to pay to get that speed. Just only on the Xfinity stuff.
I think, I think with the way the law was written, that was okay. It was when they start adding in third party gets to piggyback on that lane. That was the issue. T-Mobile
they exactly did
sort of did that. So what T-Mobile... No. Because there's a difference between truncating speeds and having things count towards a cap.
Well, yeah.
According to the way the law was
written,
written,
gets truncated, so it counts in a roundabout way. That's one of the things I hated the worst about it. It was,
yes.
And I like it. I like T-Mobile's idea, but that should have been illegal.
Yeah.
If you want complete net neutrality rules, that what they were doing with not counting certain sites toward your data cap, that's not neutral. It should just be across the board, everything the same. and it wasn't, and that was
Yeah.
like my big issue with it was, yeah, they call it net neutrality, but it's not completely neutral. There were still ways to have extreme biases
It wasn't.
towards things.
It. Yeah. It was step
Yeah.
one of a 12-step process,
Yeah,
and we're back down to step 0 again. And whether or not we'll actually get there, I don't know. Probably not. Or you'll have to pay a lot of money to do it. I don't think that, now that we've regressed this far, I don't think that we're going to, without massive changes to lobbying structures and
yeah,
legalized bribery, I don't think we're ever going to be able to do it, because it's very difficult to compete with the buttloads of money that the ISPs dump into lobbying. And without changes to that, it's going to be a very hard battle.
That's why I've been pushing the community broadband
And
angle. Is it's
good luck with that in Michigan. It's virtually
Yeah.
impossible with the bureaucracy that the states implemented
getting
it.
anything done in Michigan.
And then you've got other states that are starting to, then there's other states that are starting to pass their own net neutrality laws that affect their state. And the FCC is already attempting to override and outlaw that without too much success, but that's mostly because Chairman Pai has wrapped up in his own scandals and controversy at the moment. It's a nightmare. Okay, so the thing I was going back to with protected browsing. So Comcast introduced a service called protected browsing, and it's a setting designed to, quote, reduce the risk of assessing known sources of malware, spyware, and phishing for all devices connected to your home network. So it's kind of like Google Chrome security settings that warn you when you have an insecure connection. But the problem is that it was blocking things like PayPal and Steam and Netflix.
So do they say if it was network based or was it router based?
It's
Because I've
that
noticed
I don't know.
had way less problems since I've gotten a different modem and router. So Comcast also raised the price for the rental of their modems.
It's ISP-based content blocking. So it's on the ISP side, and it's through the settings on your account, not router-specific.
I haven't had an issue with that yet, so I'll have to go find that.
But it's not... So the other half of this is that it is, at the moment, opt-in. It's not automatically on. You do have to opt in for the protected browsing. However, it kind of goes to show that they're trying to figure out what they're going to be able to get away with. Which is just...
Yep.
It's what happens. It's what happens. I mean, it's... You know, we can complain about it and we'll try to change it. But the reality of the situation is that we have to also figure out how to work within the constraints and the confines. And figure out what to do from here. You know, it's part of the ever-evolving, ever-growing change of internet stuff. You know, it's why we've kind of decided that for all of the Wonderbury shows, we're not going to be utilizing YouTube's ad system because of the massive changes it's had to go through. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, you know, take your pick. But it is what it is, and because advertisers are now trying to be much more specific on what content they want to have their stuff on, and it's the byproduct of an open platform, and it's sometimes a negative byproduct of most anything is allowed. And so you have things that were getting ads on it that advertisers don't agree with and don't want their stuff associated with. And that ends up hurting everyone instead of just a small subsection when, these massive players are pulling out of the Google ad sphere, which YouTube attaches into AdWords and all that stuff. And so, it's just caused a lot of up-and-coming or smaller content creators to figure out other ways of getting income for their work. Patreon's a very popular option. There's a couple other ad services where, there might be an ad read or two throughout the course of an episode or something like that. And, these are all things that, it sounds really bad, but at the same time, it's kind of what you have to kind of do and go through to accomplish and to actually try to make a living at doing some of this more low budget or small content creation stuff. I love
Patreon, man. And that was something I'd set up for us early in the beginning. And it was I learned about it from watching SciShow with Hank Green, because if I remember right, I think he was one of him and his brother John were the people that kind of put it together. Yeah.
They were like part of the founders.
And it used to be called Subbable, and then it got kind of big, and now it's ridiculously huge. And it supports a lot of people. And it is, and it goes back to the community thing. Our community of Wonderbury fans could potentially just support us and help us make a living doing this for you. And that's why we want to make more content. We're trying to come up with more content stuff so that we can keep you fully entertained.
Yeah. Also, not just keeping you fully entertained in different styles of content so we can reach the different parts that people like, but we love doing this, and both of our dreams is to be able to support ourselves to be able to do this full time. I mean, I would love nothing more than to do this full time. And whether it's us creating our own content, us producing other people and helping them out, it's stuff that we really kind of are looking at all of our options right now to figure out how to do this. And it's a fun adventure. It's a fun ride. It's going to be a rocky one for a bit, but it's a fun adventure.
Yep.
I know I'm still enjoying myself.
Speaking of which, if you're a listener and you want to pitch us an idea for your show, we could work together and produce something for you.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we might actually, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'll put a note down, kind of do for Patreon, is maybe have a Patreon where we can help do that with your show and help produce it and stuff. That would be, I think it'd be a lot of fun to do to help out that way. So, Oculus had, speaking of gaming and fun, Oculus had quite the hiccup this last week. So the geniuses over at the Facebook's VR division, also known as the Oculus and Oculus Rift, kind of broke them all. Every Oculus was completely shut down without being able to connect because of an expired security certificate. It took them almost 24 hours to get that fixed.
Lame.
Yeah. Um, and then the fix ended up being you had to re-download new software, and it's fixed for now. It's you know
It's crazy that a major
I don't know.
company like that would let that happen.
Yeah, it's not the first time though that something like this, a bad certificate, has caused a massive issue. If I remember correctly, Apple had one of these expire out, and everyone had to re-download pretty much everything. And I'm trying to
There was
remember
also
when
the
that
time that
was.
Google let their domain registry expire, and some dude bought it. Let the domain google.com.
Oh yeah, there was that. That was. I don't think they let them. I don't think they let it expire. I think it was a bug somewhere where it showed that it was for sale.
Well, the guy was able
But yeah,
to
no,
purchase it, and they ended up buying it from him for
yeah,
a ridiculous amount of money.
yeah. It was in 2015. It was only just a few years ago. Apple Mac users were left with no choice but to delete and reinstall a bunch of software they downloaded due to expired security certificates. So it's it's one of those things that it happens. It's not the best thing in the world, and most of the time, most companies automatically renew it. This must have fallen through the cracks somehow, and it didn't get the renewal that it needed, and we were left without Oculus for almost 24 hours, which was kind of funny. But at the same time, it kind of goes to show that there was a lot of discussion on Reddit, obviously, because Reddit being the wonderful platform that it is, it has lots of really good discussion, and a lot of people were trying to figure out why Oculus, just to even run the Oculus Rift, it needed to have a digital certificate in the first place. And the answer is it has a lot to do with Windows and with ensuring that third party and all apps and programs that you download for it are safe for your computer. And one of the ways that works is that anything that is official and is deemed safe and worthy is signed by a certificate, and that way you kind of know that whatever you're installing is not going to necessarily harm your machine. Most games, most programs, they all have this, and those certificates are like stored in the Windows registry or in other places on, depending on what computer you have or you're using or whatever. It's stored and accessed through there. Your mobile devices have certificates that are downloaded based upon either apps or sites or different services you connect to. Can and will download a security certificate, and you can actually go and review them in your settings on your Android or your Apple devices and see which ones are kind of doing that. Facebook's notorious for certs. So it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it is when it goes bad, but the fact that it's actually happening is not too bad of a deal.
So, well, that's all pretty exciting. Do you want to talk about something boring?
Sure.
Elon Musk.
I always talk about something boring. Oh, yeah, because that's going to be boring.
The Boring Company got some OKs to dig some more holes. And literally just posted a mock-up of what I'm going to assume is probably a Tesla bus going into the tunnel and picking up to a speed of 174 miles an hour. It says that the Boring Company will prioritize
Nice.
pedestrians and cyclists over cars. And it shows the bus just like
Nice.
picking up people on the street. Like it looks like it's just a platform with a glass dome, not really a dome, but like a glass top, and people loaded on it. Goes down in the hole, lands on the rail in the tunnel, shoop, off it goes. Yeah, pretty awesome mock-up.
Nice.
So
The Boring
It's
Company
amazing.
is doing
And
some
if
amazing
you-
stuff.
if you have Instagram, you should definitely follow Elon Musk because the stuff he posts is just amazing. The other day he showed
Yeah.
the first production cargo trip of the Tesla Semi heavy duty truck, and yeah,
It was carrying a load of batteries,
Tesla
wasn't it?
Batteries from the Gigafactory in the Nevada mountains to the Tesla car factory in California. So they have a range of
Awesome.
500 miles, and that I think that distance was somewhere like 480 miles. So it should be able to make that trip just fine. And there was, I think there was even a picture on Reddit. Somebody saw the trucks at a charging station, like while they were en route. But that's gonna be. Those were ones that like those are the first ones, and guess who they were for? They were for Tesla. And it dawned on me that like companies build things for themselves all the time, and it's expensive, ridiculously expensive. And whether it's like stuff for an assembly line, or like if you have to build a special fitting for something, it can get expensive really fast. If you're building a special semi to carry your batteries from your battery factory to your car factory, how do you make that cheaper? Is to sell them.
What a better way though for a proof of concept though. What a great way of a proof of concept that it'll work is by hedging your own bets
he's
against
funding his supply chain by selling them. Like if you do a news search for down payment on Tesla Semi, you will see a list of companies that paid for Tesla's supply chain transportation, and they funded
Yeah.
they funded helping Tesla, essentially helping Tesla be a little more efficient and less reliant on other companies to do stuff. Yep.
Fine by me. He's cutting out middlemen all over the
And
place. That's fine by me.
I
SpaceX is going to be fairly quiet this week, this month though.
You sure?
They're gearing
Oh,
up for an
that's right.
exciting
That's right.
April, but
I was
March
trying
will
to
be
remember
nice
when I
and
saw
quiet.
the-
Yeah, 3 launches, 3 pads, 7
like
days,
almost
beginning March
6 in the whole
29th.
month.
They're going to go... Yeah, looks like they're going to run 6 in the month, which is about a third of their 2018 projections, including at some point throughout next month, they're going to be rolling out Falcon 9 Block 5. Their new Falcon 9 rocket. So That's going to be very interesting because apparently the Block 5 will have the new Merlin 1D engines, and it's got upgrades that NASA requested before sending up astronauts, as well as being able to have a faster turnaround time for reusability launches.
That
So,
that first part of that was the thing I was most excited about. Was if NASA is saying we want to put people back into space on our own, and they're working that closely with SpaceX to help the upgrades happen for NASA to like put their stamp on it. That's going to be good.
yeah, I think it was more of a minimum requirements of stuff that had to happen before then. But I got a feeling NASA's probably not as happy spending as much money it is to send our astronauts to Russia to go bounce up into SIA's spacecraft and back.
Oh yeah, no, that can't be cheap. Getting it done through Tesla, whichever company, getting it done through Musk Incorporated. It's just going to get it cheaper.
Yeah, it's
and especially because he's winning more and more contracts with different people, and it's just keeping the cost down, which was the whole idea of it in the first place, was get the cost down as far as possible.
Yeah, making it cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and the more they can reuse, especially if they can start catching and reusing these fairings, that's just going to be a whole nother cost savings initiative. I mean, they're already undercutting every other orbital spaceflight stuff. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
What else? What they had another Falcon Heavy scheduled. I thought. I don't remember who all they said was on the list of things going up. I think NASA had a project, and there was like 4 or 5 things on the list of cargo that were going to be going on the next Falcon Heavy.
U.S. military rideshare mission for U.S. military confirmed as second Falcon Heavy launch. More than 24 satellites from the U.S. military, NASA, and research institutions will ride into orbit on SpaceX's second Falcon Heavy launch. Mission currently scheduled for liftoff in June.
I wonder if Audi will have their stuff. I wonder who's taking Audi's stuff to the moon. I don't know if their website even said that. I think it was just kind of focused on the rovers. But so Audi is building some Quattro moon rovers.
Interesting.
Mission to the Moon by Audi, and find the actual website. I think it was just mission-to-the-moon.com. Mission to the Moon. PT scientists, based in Berlin. It says, working with key technology partners Audi and Vodafone. And they're going to put a pair of Luno Quattro rovers on the surface of the moon. And then sounds like they're going to be
fascinating.
Demonstrating a lot of new technologies between them and Vodafone, and just kind of pushing their bounds and what they can do and with the way that Audi works, anyways, um, like their car technology seems to be like it would be a good fit for a Rover. Uh, their Quattro drive that they use in a lot of their cars, especially the TT. Um, it's adaptive to how the car kind of like flexes and turns, and actually Subaru I
Yeah.
think does it better, but I Audi does it extremely well too. So it seems like having taking that technology and trying to push it as far as it'll go on a rover on the moon where the surface is not anything like a road. That's going to be amazing to see what kind of data and what kind of new technology they can get out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. I wonder if they're going to be, because I know there was a couple of companies. I think Blue Origin was one of them that we're talking about, and I think the Chinese wanted to do something. It was either Chinese or was it India
Yeah.
that wanted to head back to the moon. So I wonder if they're going to partner up with another national space agency or if they're going to partner up with one of the private space agencies. And I also wonder what they would be doing for partnering up for more mission stuff
Yeah.
to the moon or to Mars as well.
If it's Audi, I would imagine they'd probably go with something private so they could have their own specific data sharing stuff with the mission. They like
Yeah, I'm sure they could do, but you could also do some of that with a national system. I mean, not just the United States government's getting information from Curiosity, and that was a full NASA run through, which is our that's our nationalist system. So it's one of those interesting things of how it all kind of works together, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Being contracted out that way. I'm not sure what all or who all would get access to it, but it'd be very interesting to see where that ends up going. I know Blue Origin is planning to test their heavy launch system in 2020, and Musk said that the BFR, the big Falcon rocket, was going to start running through. Yeah, right. Was going to start running through tests next year. So, as he said, as they kind of are more perfecting instead of R&Ding the Falcon rocket system, a lot of those engineers and a lot of focus will go into the BFR, which beyond just for pushing things interplanetary, the BFR would be, and one of the uses for it with many people as could be in it, would be kind of intercontinental flights. Could you imagine that going from, say, L.A. to London
Yeah, it
in
would be ridiculous.
45 minutes? It'd be insane. But that's one way of doing it. I mean, that's one thing. Depending on what the cost effectiveness of launching a BFR to go up and back down that way, I don't know how feasible that would be. I know it's part of their plans, but I also don't know if it's going to be some insane cost to do it to where it probably wouldn't be used all that much.
At least for a while until it,
I mean,
until they score some contracts. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
So, yep.
But
So
hey, you
speaking
never
of
know what's going to happen,
contracts,
right?
We are contracted to you through Patreon. You could go subscribe for as little as $1 a month. and we will pretty much just do what you tell us on screen, probably. I
within
I have no reason.
some reason.
I have no reason.
I know you don't. I'm saying for myself within somewhat
You say
reason.
that, and then somebody would like put down a big paycheck, and you're like, nah.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
Yeah, I know. You know, what would you do for a
Yep.
Klondike bar type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So the
Oh,
oldest
boy.
kid turns 13 next week. Yeah. I've got family flying in from out of town this coming weekend and get to hang out with them, which will be awesome. They'll be here for St. Patty's Day. My uncle is performing on St. Patty's Day at JK's tent. So I'm sure the whole family will be over there.
As per usual.
Doing
Yep.
the Deer Park Insano
It's crazy,
tent again.
wasn't it? I keep telling people how insane the party is.
I don't. No, it's quite insane,
It's
but
so
I
big,
don't do
so
well
many
with that
people.
kind of crowds.
It's amazing. It's such an amazing feeling, like getting in
Too
front
many
of
people.
that many people.
Oh, I'm sure being in the band,
Yeah.
it would be absolutely phenomenal and amazing.
Yeah.
Being in the
Yeah.
crowd, not
Yeah.
so much.
That's why as soon as I get off stage, it was
Like I will
whoop, out the
I will
tent.
see you I will see you while you're in town. Yep, I will see you while you're in town.
Yeah,
Probably
that's
won't
fine.
make it to Deer Park this year. Mostly because I'll have family here and we're going to see my uncle and his band
Yep.
and stuff and do, the family thing. That'll be a lot of the reason why. But still, holy crap.
It was crazy.
That was
It
just
crazy.
last year that was too
So
much.
much beer. So much beer.
It's
Yeah.
almost too much to do that. But yeah, no, we're gonna have a nice party for him. We're doing something big.
Mm-hmm.
13's pretty big deal.
Quinceanera age.
Kids getting some good stuff and
This is the quinceanera
Huh?
age.
yeah, right.
13.
13. So I will have
Woo.
a young adult and 3 kids. And I don't even know when that happened. Somehow I'm old enough to have a teenager.
No, you're not.
So I'm old enough.
Yeah.
I'm not adult enough to have a teenager, but I'm
Yep.
old enough.
That's,
We're all adults somehow, though,
yeah,
right?
people keep telling me that. This is what it is.
It is what it is, I guess.
Well, suppose.
But yeah, I think we're keep working on new projects. Keep looking out for them. I'm not sure anything new will drop necessarily in March, but in the coming
Hey, man, don't
weeks
doubt
they
me.
will be definitely dropping.
I might have.
You might see a couple of test ones come out where we'll kind of put feelers out and kind of see what we like. So keep an eye on the
got some
YouTube
big
channel and
sleeves,
on
man. There
Facebook
might
for
be
that.
all sorts of stuff up there you don't know about. You
Oh
know?
yeah, never know.
So Dave,
We'll see what happens.
We'll probably see you next week, and we'll see everybody else in about 2.
Yeah,
Bye.
sounds good. Take care, guys.